Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Shall we go to my chamber? This is a room of work of mine from the 70s until last week. This image is from a slide I found on the street in New York from some therapeutic clinic. And I found a whole box of slides that are mind-boggling, beautiful, sort of, I think this looks a little like Kippenberger maybe. But I like finding things that anticipate people's work. Like I found some beautiful Richard Tuttles on the sidewalk, or...
Really?
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like a couple popsicle sticks glued together perfectly.
But do you like Richard Tuttle?
Sure.
Yeah.
My work. Yeah, I always tell people about everything but my work. For one, I don't know how much there is to say about it because I intentionally make it a little resistant to immediate explanation, or it's almost a theme, like how do you defy a clear interpretation, especially when there's a group of work where I can establish intervals between something that might be stupid or fey or too academic or a brilliant drawing, like just to play, like in music, like where if the viewer looks at it and says, like, how does the same mind do this?
Yeah.
Or is it a failure or an accomplishment to have not concentrated and made a choice, like to do 50 of these or just that? So, and I wouldn't even say that that's been a conscious choice of mine. I've only known one way to work, and it's been to follow, whatever my mind goes with the wind, and where it goes, I follow.
Yeah, but everything fits together. So
I think so, but there's maybe two types of people in the world: people who say it doesn't fit together, and people who see.
Oh, really?
I once did an installation, and there was a panel discussion in front of this big wall of my drawings, and a man stood up and he was really angry, and he said, the problem with art today is that everyone's work looks the same, like that whole wall of drawings looks like it was done by the same person. And then they said, it was done by the same person. So that was a favorite moment of mine. I think, too, that it's obviously my temperament or maybe something's wrong with me, but I find almost a compulsion not to repeat myself, even verbally. Like if my wife asks me a question, I'll say, like, I told you that 2 weeks ago, So I think that as one finds oneself in the moment, things are always different. So if I'm holding a pencil at 2 o'clock on a Saturday, it's a different experience than a pen or a clarinet on a Wednesday. So I really think it's almost seismographically, it's to be, to pay attention to the material in the moment and what you're responding to, and follow that. So that's to some degree what this is all about. And I am as committed to writing poetry, and I play music and shoot some film. So it's almost embarrassing to tell people what I do, because it either sounds grandiose or manic or irresponsible. But I part of my way of appreciating people's work is to do what they do. So to listen to music, it's helped me enormously to play music, or to appreciate writing, to write, to architecture. I've been a builder and a designer. So my way of apprehending the world is by acting and getting it where it inhabits my body, and I don't know, that's what this is about. And I have a certain sense of humor, I guess. So
Sure.
I don't know. I always think, when people ask for an explanation of the work, I say just pay more attention to the work, and it will explain whatever it is. Because, especially standing here talking a little bit about what I do, when I look at it, I think, how does what I'm saying have anything to do with this stuff on the wall? I don't.
What kind of music is that you're doing?
I think it would have to be classified maybe as experimental music. I formed a group with my brother, another artist, and another musician in 1971. And the four of us are still playing together. Two of them live in Minnesota, and two of us live in New York.
Yeah.
So the four of us always play at least once a year. But we've been playing, again, it's sort of like this. We play such a range of music, like it might be rhythm and blues, free jazz.
With acoustic instruments or
Mostly acoustical, or acoustic, like guitar, saxophones, clarinets. We invent instruments too.
Maybe you send us an MP3.
Oh, I'd be
file?
happy to.
Yeah?
Lately I've been doing some things that I think are interesting because they embarrass my wife and my friends. I've been making up songs. I've basically taught myself how to play guitar in my own way. And then I sing songs whenever I have a bad cold or flu and my voice drops. Like today's a good example because I was dancing till 5 in the mornings with no sleep. So I wake up, turn on the recorder, and make up a song when my voice is good.
Experimental voice.
Yes, right. But I don't know. I think that the balance between having some, that the freedom that comes through discipline and constraints really interests me. Like I restricted myself to drawing in notebooks for about 20 years with no preparation, ink, and that was a way for me to make a body work that made some sense to me, or the number of choices in front of me was just overwhelming.
Maybe that's because you are curious, as you said before, also curious about yourself.
Sure. Well, that's part of the, I think that it's one way to look at an artist's work or life is like an experiment. For example, I've been drawing really sort of consciously as an artist since I was 4 or 5 years old, with the encouragement of my parents. So my work is almost the result of this experiment. What would happen if one drew for 50 years? And here is the result, for better or worse. But that's one reason I can appreciate my work myself, is because I don't really feel like I made it, or that something I made when I was a child or as a teenager or in my 20s, 30s, 40s, I give credit or blame that person, So I like the balance of doing work that is in some way intensely personal, but I think that the most accurate sort of objective materialist device is an individual. So I love this contradiction in terms, or the unfortunate polarity that's often put before us between kind of like a black and white dialectic between the subjective and the objective, or the personal or the conceptual or the unconscious, because I really believe that the line is in the sand. You can't say where obviously the body starts or the mind stops and all that stuff. So even though I had a lot of pressure, especially in the like 60s, 70s, to be a responsible conceptual artist. Don't do anything unless you can explain it. Don't touch a paintbrush. A pencil is evil. The pictorial is academic. But I didn't really have a choice. I found it much more interesting to have kind of a complete involvement, similar to a musician, I think, where there's so much to be learned from the resistance of the world. Like, for example, to learn how to play the violin is different than doing a conceptual art piece about a violin. So, and then I'm no knee-jerk reactionary, like you have to draw from the model or none of that bullshit. But I think that people should challenge themselves to really work and not be satisfied and keep moving.
Yeah, and to find the unexpected, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's the only way you can find the unexpected is to keep moving.
Yeah.
I think also it's the art is in one way kind of unique in that the responsibility of the artist is to attack themselves and to challenge themselves and try to kill themselves in a sense. And you don't necessarily want that kind of risk-taking in engineering or in medicine or business. There's also obviously risk-taking, but this is a little different where I think it's to grow or to remain fresh is to move on, and it's that's the way you discover something new. Whether I have or not, I don't know, but this is it. I can say this: I've given my life, to this activity rather completely. So I think I would die saying I couldn't have tried harder. I don't think, even though my trying is sort of a lazy trying. Hi, Heinrich.